Hello, fellow stressed out Year 12 students. This is my first time recording, so I apologize if I sound horrible. I am also sick and nervous because I'm talking to myself, but today we're going to be going over the first section of the operations topic in business studies. So we're doing the role of operations, which, if we remember our RIPS, is the R. So yeah, this episode is intended to cover all syllabus dot points under the role of operations, as it's not particularly long, and I decided to start with this as it's the first part of the business studies course, and it's not too difficult. So here we have the syllabus. So we will be covering the first 3 dot points. I have a script, but I am totally going to ignore this. Okay, so we've got the strategic role of operations, which has 2 sections, which on the syllabus dot point from NESA is marked with a little dash. So we've got cost leadership and good and service differentiation. We've got goods and services in different industries and interdependence with other key business functions, which appears in the role of every topic of operations. So that last one is a good one to know. So we will start with dot point 1, surprise, surprise, which, as I just said, is the strategic role of operation management, which is divided into cost leadership and good/service differentiation. Oh, I have fancy. So before we start, okay, so what is operations? Operations is all about how the business makes what they do. So it's all about how they provide goods or services. So if a business makes cars, it's about how they do that. If a business just provides customer service, this is about how the business does what the business does. So it's about the transformation of inputs into outputs. Yeah. So the strategic role of operations refers to long-term decisions. So strategic means long-term. That's something to know as it comes up in other topics as well. So it's about the overall design of the operation system. This is important because businesses have competition. So we have rivalry, hence why I picked a picture of Sasuke. For those of you that don't know, he's the main rival in Naruto. I'm sorry for you non-anime fans, you're gonna have to put up with me. So without, I spelled that so badly in my script, without other businesses operating and competing with, this wouldn't be as important. So if we didn't have competitors and rivals, being effective in our operations would not matter, but we live in a society and there's a lot of people to compete with, so businesses have to work out ways to defeat their rivals, otherwise they're not going to make profit. So there are 2 main strategies that businesses use to try and gain a competitive edge, and they are cost leadership and cost and service differentiation. And I'm sorry, my script is very cringy, but I wrote, think of these as special moves that a business decides to use to get to buy from one another. Oh my gosh, I apologize. I will get better at script writing. I will. So yeah, these are the 2 main ways that businesses look to try and gain an advantage over each other. They can also be combined. So cost leadership is about maximizing efficiency to produce products of a similar quality at the lowest price. So it doesn't mean being cheaper, as cheaper refers to what you charge your people, and you don't want to necessarily be dodgy. Like, you don't want to cut too much quality, as people may be willing to spend a little bit extra to go to your competitors because, you know, it doesn't fall apart after one use. So you want to make a similar product, essentially make the same pen as your competitors if you make pens, but you are more efficient, so you make it cheaper. So you're practically making the same pen, but you're making it for less, so you can charge less money for it, and people, of course, people are going to go to you. So they can either try and use this to, so they can use this strategy to try and reduce the price, so, you know, in what they charge, or they can use this to increase profit margins. So they keep it the same, but because it costs them less, each product makes them worth more. Now, some challenges and issues that this may present. So you risk having lower quality products, which may mean that consumers, you know, are unhappy because they expect a certain quality or just expect it in general. So if you make a car really cheap, but its engine catches on fire, people may not want to go to you. Just saying. It could also lead to price wars, which is where businesses aim to fight for the lowest price and no one wins because it's a race to the bottom. So everyone's trying to charge as little as possible and then the profit margins keep getting smaller and smaller, and it's just not fun. This happened recently with Woolworths and Coles. So they had a price war over cooked chickens because Coles put their chickens down by $1. And oh my gosh, that was a big deal. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in an industry as competitive as the supermarket industry, where they're fighting for market share, the tiniest reduction in price, especially something as important as cooked chickens, yes, it is important. I know that sounds stupid, but by reducing the price, by them gaining a slight competitive edge in their cost, it caused a big deal. So, and pricing strategies is affected by your cost leadership, but that's a marketing issue. So if you are a cost leader, you can potentially try and undercut your competition. And then the other thing is to use goods and services differentiation. So this is about being different. So like a cafe, all cafes essentially are the same. They sell coffee, they sell cake. There's not really a lot of difference in what, like, they can't try and undercut each other because coffees kind of cost the same to make anyway. But instead, they try and get competitive edges over each other by creating different atmospheres and moods. So maybe this one over here is very dark and gothic and attracts gothic edgy people, but this one over here, you know, has old people food, so they get all the old people to go there. So the way that people, so differentiation is about trying to gain competitors not by being cheaper or more efficient, but just by being different, offering something that no one else offers, so they have to come to you at the price you charge. So you could try and differentiate by better quality inputs. So in theory, if you're putting better stuff in, you should get better products out, so you make better shoes than everyone else because the leather you use is better. You could try and use delivery items, so you could offer free shipping or wrap it in a nice package. You could try and do custom designed products, so if someone wants a drink bottle color that isn't a standard option because they picked a random color that just hasn't been manufactured, you could offer it and try and gain an advantage that way. My case studies and examples are bad, I'm sorry. You could have more features and applications, so your product does more than the competitors does. So you offer a smartphone and it has extra free applications or a couple of extra cameras, or I don't know. Built in, it doesn't fall apart if you drop it. Or you could incorporate new technologies. So that's similar to what I was just saying. You could innovate. Innovation is a good way to differentiate. Or you could have a clever design. So these are like your squidgy bottle tomato sauce. So that's a clever design that also comes in with marketing and packaging, but they differentiate themselves from other types of tomato sauce that just use your basic, boring, normie kind of bottle by going, hey, let's be squidgy. So that's a way that they can differentiate. Now, differentiation also has risks. So you have the risk of imitators. So if you're trying to gain an edge just because you're so hip and cool and different, but then everyone else, you know, some factory in China sees your design and just makes the same thing but cheaper, like so fake Converse. They're imitating, they're stealing that design, or they don't even have to steal in terms of plagiarism. You've got the business Shein, for example, likes to take designs without being quite close enough to plagiarize, but essentially they're imitating other designers, and you've lost your competitive edge in terms of differentiation. I also have a feeling I have spelled differentiation wrong. I am sorry about that. I can't spell. Copycats. So that's also similar with imitators. You could have people just straight up stealing and copying. Like, for example, when fidget spinners were all the rage, that everyone just was making the exact same product, and whoever could make it cheaper was just going to win that war, because now you're no longer different. You also have the issue of consumer preferences and trends change. So if you're a rubber band factory making loom bands, sorry, once everyone got sick of that, your cool, different, hip rubber bands are no longer relevant. Or if you produced a heap of things that were like, oh, what was a trend that existed? Like in 2012 when everyone wanted mustaches. Don't make a mustache print anymore because consumers just don't want them. Or the consumer attitudes change. So this is issues where consumers are becoming more conscious. Perhaps your factory is really bad for the environment. People aren't so happy with that kind of stuff anymore. So maybe they just don't appreciate your pollution. Or maybe you could have the opposite, because often a business is more likely to try and differentiate themselves by being more eco-friendly. Let's say we fix the planet and people all of a sudden just stop caring about it. Well, if you're organic hip business, perhaps that changes. Or maybe veganism falls out of fashion. So this is about just people's preferences and ideas. Just, they change over time. You can't predict and sustain the same thing all the time, and what people like today may be different tomorrow. And if that's how you're trying to sell your product to people, if that changes, you've got to adapt. And that didn't click. And then the second dot point is goods and or services in different industries. So depending on what the product you're making, the industry you are in, it's going to be different. Products are not the same across the board. So, the management of operations will differ for producing goods and providing services. Different goods in different industries will also be produced differently. So if you're producing a good, the product is tangible. So the good is, for example, anything you can touch. So a book is a product. You can touch it, you can open it. A drink bottle is tangible. Tangible just means it exists in the real world. You can touch it, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can lick it, you can eat it, you can interact with it in the physical realm. So products can be customized, so you could have a customizable engraved pen that can be any shape and color, or they can be standardized. A good example of a standardized product that's pretty famous is the black car for Ford. So you could have any color you wanted, given it was black. So it was standardized, so they made manufacturing easier by just having every car be black. They may be perishable, so a perishable product, I'm guessing most of you guys would know this, but like milk. Milk doesn't last very long. Products also have the capacity to be stored, so if you get a book, sorry, I have books on my desk and I like reading, but you can store a book on your bookshelf. However, there's differences when you're making services. So services are intangible. So when you go and like customer service, so the person that serves you at McDonald's, it's not a physical thing you can touch. You can't touch customer service. You can't touch a car service. It's more abstract. Now, services can be general or customized again. So you could have a service that's the same every time. So, I don't know, like a standardized car wash. They do it in the same way every time, or something that's customized, like a haircut. It works pretty similarly with products, as this is a way that they are similar, so they can, They are generally a bit more customized than products. They won't likely be exactly identical every time, but that's why we're using generalized rather than standardized, as it's a generally the same sort of thing. So services are tasks that are or activities that a business performs. That's a good way to explain it. Thank you, past me. That was much better way of explaining it than I just did. And services can't be stored. You can't store a haircut in your cupboard and be like, ah, yes, now would be a good time to change my hair. Let's do this. You can't store, the cashier that packs your bags. Not unless you put the person in your bag, but don't do that. Services can't be stored. They stay at the business, you buy them, you do it there, it's over. You can't use it later. You can't just bring it out wherever you want. You go to the business or they come to you and it's done once. Now also, do note, businesses can provide goods and services. So Domino's, their main thing is a good. They give you pizza, or like Pizza Hut, or any delivery food option, I guess. But they also deliver, so they provide the service where they bring the food to you. And they also do have customer service. So businesses can provide both. They're just likely to focus on one or have that be the main thing that you think about when you go to the business. And then the final dot point is interdependence. So this is crucial because you kind of need to know for every topic, and this is what they use as the excuse for Nessa to ask the stupid questions where you've got to link random dot points together. So this little dot point is really mean, but it's a fairly simple concept once you get it. It's just a pain because it gives Nessa the excuse to ask stupid, mean questions. So this is the interdependence with other key business functions. So this is all about how they link together. I'm sorry, my puns are horrible. If you guys don't recognize, that is Link from Legend of Zelda. Hence, get it? Link. So it's operations is just one of 4 key business functions. There are more business functions, but just say there's 4 because they're the 4 that we do. They're the only 4 that matter for the HSC. So that is, of course, the only information that matters ever. And all of them are closely linked and are interdependent. This means that a decision made in one will impact others. So financial decisions impact operations. Your operations will affect marketing decisions, and then your operations affects HR, and they all mush and mix together. And areas of the business, whilst we study them as nice little boxes all separate, in reality everything is mushed together and they all work in conjunction, hoping to try and maximize profit and achieve business objectives. Okay, and then, oh dang it, why didn't you click? And then I would like to thank you all. You actually stuck around. I'm sorry, this video is probably the most chaotic, most bodgy thing you have ever watched on YouTube. And if you really somehow managed to enjoy this, or you got some value out of it, like and leave a comment and subscribe like everyone says. Please don't do that. Please don't subscribe. That's a bad idea. For your sake, don't subscribe, don't like. Actually, hit the dislike button. I want to see if I can get a lot of dislikes. And comment if you wish. Comment and tell me how bad it is or what else you want to see. I have got in my description on my channel, I do say what subjects I do. So I'll just say, so I do business studies, legal studies, economics, English Advanced, Extension English, and Unit 1 Religion. So please don't ask me to teach you guys biology. I am not teaching you guys biology. I have not studied biology since year 10. Also, don't ask me to do maths. I am not doing math. Please only ask about subjects I am currently learning. There have been subjects I have dropped, but I dropped them for a reason. So thank you all for watching. If anyone ever watches this, I hope this helped with the role of operations. If there's anything you guys are still stuck on, that actually would be something useful to comment. I do plan to also potentially look and answer all the HSC questions on this part of the syllabus, but I would have done that in this video, except I haven't gone and found them all yet, so I couldn't exactly do that. So I'll stop being lazy and I'll find them all and answer them for you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm so sorry that you sat through this.